Welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking into bribery and corruption today.
Ooh.
And we've got 3 sources to help us out.
Okay.
We have some articles from Skillcast and IBAC,
Right.
which IBAC is Australia's independent anti-corruption commission.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we also have some insights from Easy Llama,
Okay.
which is an online compliance training platform.
Awesome.
And, bribery and corruption.
Yeah. You think of it as a business thing, but it can actually hit a lot closer to home
Oh, absolutely.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to try to do is show how these principles apply
Yeah.
everywhere,
Exactly.
not just in the business world.
Yeah. So let's jump into that Skillcast article.
Okay.
So Skillcast outlines 6 red flags of bribery in the workplace.
Okay.
And some of these they mention are unnecessary or inappropriate purchases,
Right.
questionable invoices, accepting poorer quality,
Okay.
conflicts of interest,
Yeah.
unqualified third parties.
And incomplete travel and expense reports.
I see.
And again, these can really apply anywhere, not just
Yeah, absolutely, in the workplace.
in the workplace.
Yeah.
These can come up in any organization that you're in.
Oh, yeah, like a community group or even just your personal life.
Yeah, your book club,
Exactly.
anything.
That unnecessary purchases one.
Right.
Reminded me of an example
Yeah.
Skillcast brought up where they were saying, imagine someone's ordering tons of supplies,
Okay.
but those supplies never show up. Like, where are they going?
Yeah, that's a classic sign of ghost employee scheme,
Oh, interesting.
where someone is basically creating these fake employees to funnel money.
Wow. So that's
And a lot of times, you can actually spot this if you're looking for it.
okay.
Like you're looking at the payroll, you see consistent orders for a specific type of item, but it never gets used.
Right.
Or there's discrepancies between the number of employees and the amount of equipment being ordered.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's one. Now let's move on to IBAC.
Okay.
Their article focusing specifically on corruption in procurement.
Okay.
And I like that they have this insider perspective because they investigate corruption
Yeah, definitely.
and they break it down by each stage of the procurement process.
That's really helpful, I think,
Yeah.
for people to, because then you can really tailor
Yeah,
your vigilance to what stage the project is in.
exactly.
So you know what to look for at
Exactly.
each point.
And they had some eye-catching ones.
Okay.
Like, for example, employees writing tender specifications in a way that favors a certain supplier,
Oh, yeah.
which, it doesn't sound too bad at first.
It sounds innocent enough, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
could be a very deliberate tactic to steer the contract towards a preferred supplier.
Yeah.
Even if they aren't offering the best value for money.
Right.
So it's undermining the whole bidding process,
Oh,
leading
yeah.
to unfair outcomes.
Another one was contract splitting,
Oh,
where
yeah.
they try to avoid scrutiny.
Right. So imagine you have a project and it needs competitive bidding
Right.
because it's a certain size.
Okay.
So what someone might do is split it up into smaller contracts,
Mm.
each below that threshold for needing that formal bid. So they can avoid, avoid the checks and balances.
Wow. And just kind of fly under the radar.
Yeah, bypass transparency, potentially funnel work to favored vendors,
Wow.
often at inflated costs.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
They really hit home
yeah,
the importance of having processes and controls in place.
absolutely.
Even providing a checklist,
Yeah,
which I think is really useful.
I think this is really where the rubber meets the road for our listeners. Think about your own organization.
Yeah.
Do we have these protections in place?
Right.
If not, this is a great starting point
Told you.
to think about okay, are we doing everything we can
Yeah.
to prevent this?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Now let's switch gears to Easy Llama.
Okay.
And Easy Llama brings a broader perspective to the table.
All right.
They cover both public and private sector corruption.
Okay.
And they even touch on red flags in the digital world.
Yeah, because, it's not just confined to one sector or one industry. It's a global issue
Right.
that transcends boundaries.
Totally.
And the digital age has expanded
Yeah.
the avenues through which it can occur.
They mentioned the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act,
Uh-huh.
the FCPA.
Yes.
I have to admit, it sounds a little intimidating.
Yeah, the FCPA is a U.S. law, but it has huge global implications.
Okay.
It basically prohibits U.S. citizens and companies from bribing foreign government officials to
Yeah.
gain a business advantage.
Oh, okay.
And the key is this applies even when they're operating outside of the U.S.
Oh, wow.
So imagine a U.S. company is trying to secure a contract in another country.
Okay.
And they think, oh, it might be helpful to offer a bribe to a government official just to swing things in our favor.
Right.
The FCPA says no.
Even if it's common practice in that country.
Even if it's common practice there.
Wow.
It's illegal for U.S. citizens and companies to do that.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those digital red flags.
Okay.
Easy Llama mentions.
Yeah.
Specifically unexplained changes to digital records.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If someone is trying to cover up a bribe or some shady deal,
right,
they might delete those records to hide the evidence.
Makes sense.
Right? So that's why regular audits of those records are really important.
Definitely.
For maintaining transparency.
And then another one was the use of encrypted communication.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds very cloak and dagger.
Right, because while encryption has legitimate uses, it can be used to conceal corrupt activities.
Okay.
So if you see people suddenly switching to encrypted messaging for routine conversations, it might be a sign that something's up.
Yeah, and all these red flags just go to show how important it is to be vigilant.
Absolutely.
And, aware of what's going on around you. But I think it's also more than just playing detective.
Yeah.
It's about understanding, the bigger picture.
It's about...
And the role we all play.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's not just about avoiding legal trouble. It's about protecting the integrity of our institutions, businesses, our communities.
Totally. And if you like what you hear so far and you want to support us, you can subscribe to Mind Mosaic.
Awesome.
We're a new channel, and your support means a lot.
Definitely.
Now let's look at what Isa Lama has to say about whistleblowing.
All right. Whistleblowing. I mean, it can be a really powerful tool.
Yeah.
To stop corruption before it spreads.
Right.
You see any of these red flags, whether it's at work in your community organization, even your personal interactions, you have a responsibility to speak up.
It can be kind of daunting to speak up.
Yeah.
But Isa Lama stresses how important a strong organizational culture is.
Absolutely.
To encourage ethical behavior.
It's not enough to just have rules written down.
Right.
You need a culture where people feel safe to speak up if something feels wrong.
Yeah. And thinking back to IBAC's safeguards, and audits.
Yeah.
Internal controls, procedures for conflicts of interest, are those really effective?
Yeah.
If the culture doesn't back it up.
Exactly. Imagine a workplace where people are afraid of retaliation.
Right.
If they speak up, or unethical behavior is just seen as that's how we do things here.
Right.
Those policies are useless in that environment.
It's like having a state-of-the-art security system,
right,
but leaving the front door open.
Exactly.
Well, how do we actually build that culture of ethics and compliance?
Yeah, it's a big...
Seems like such a complex challenge.
It is a challenge.
Yep.
Isa Lama emphasizes the importance of training.
Okay.
And not just on the rules themselves, but ethical decision-making.
Okay.
Giving people the skills to navigate those gray areas where the right path isn't obvious.
That's not just about knowing right from wrong.
Right.
It's about having the tools to deal with those tough situations.
Yeah, when you're not sure what to do.
Exactly.
Exactly. And it's about creating an environment where people feel empowered to ask questions, raise concerns, challenge the status quo if something feels off.
I like how Easy Llama said, well-informed employees are the first line of defense against corruption.
That's a great quote.
It's like empowering everyone to be a mini detective.
Yeah, and it's not just about spotting those red flags.
Right.
But feeling supported to actually report them. Because even those seemingly small acts of corruption can really snowball, erode trust, damage the organization as a whole.
And we've really gone from those basic red flags to the deeper cultural aspects of preventing corruption.
Absolutely.
Peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yeah, and it really highlights that preventing corruption isn't just the job of compliance officers or law enforcement. It's something we all have a part to play in. Totally.
Regardless of our position.
That's a powerful thought, that every decision we make, every action we take, contributes to the overall culture of our workplace.
Absolutely.
And our community.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This deep dive has been so insightful.
It has.
And your expertise is invaluable.
Oh, well, thank you.
We've given our listeners the knowledge to recognize bribery and corruption.
Yeah.
But also an understanding that they have a role to play in fostering a culture of ethics and integrity.
Absolutely.
And we hope you're finding this information valuable.
Yeah.
If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to Mind Mosaic.
Awesome.
We're an emerging channel, and, your support means a lot to us.
It really does.
Now, to kind of wrap things up, I want to ask our listeners a question.
Okay.
We've talked about organizational culture, but what about personal responsibility?
That's a good question.
What can each of us do, even in small ways, to create an environment that discourages unethical behavior? That's a fantastic question, and one I really encourage every listener to think about.
Yeah.
It starts with holding ourselves to a high ethical standard.
Right.
Being mindful of our choices. And being willing to speak up when something doesn't feel right.
And remember, change starts with each of us.
Yeah.
If we each commit to making ethical choices.
Absolutely.
Being that voice for integrity, we can transform our workplaces, our communities, and ultimately the world.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
But every step in the right direction makes a difference.
Beautifully said. And on that inspiring note, we want to express our gratitude to all of our listeners.
Yes, thank you.
Your support fuels our passion for bringing you these deep dives.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot today, from the red flags to the culture.
Yeah.
And it feels like it leads to a really interesting question.
Okay.
That we kind of touched on.
Yeah.
How can we contribute to creating a more ethical environment?
Yeah.
Both personally and in the organizations we're part of?
That's such an important question.
Yeah.
It starts with each of us committing to ethical behavior.
Yeah.
Not just when it's easy, but when it's hard.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to do the right thing when everyone's watching.
Right.
But what about when no one is?
Exactly.
It's about having those conversations.
Right.
When we see something that's not right.
Absolutely.
And that can be uncomfortable sometimes.
It can.
But it's so important.
Yeah.
For creating that culture.
Yeah, it's essential.
Where it's normal to be ethical.
It's the norm, not the exception.
I think that's like a key takeaway for everyone listening, is that we have the power to make a difference.
Doesn't matter what your role is or your position.
Yeah.
We can all be advocates for this.
Exactly. And those small actions can add up.
It's so
to something huge.
Collective action.
Exactly.
Is so powerful.
And change doesn't happen overnight.
No. It's a journey. It's ongoing.
And it's a commitment to keep learning, keep adapting, keep trying to do better.
And sometimes asking ourselves those hard questions, like, am I setting the right example?
Totally.
Am I contributing to that culture where people feel safe to speak up?
Yeah.
Am I doing everything I can to prevent this, even in those subtle ways?
And it's okay to not have all the answers.
Absolutely.
It's about, learning and having these conversations and working together to create a world where this doesn't have a place.
100%.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, this was a great conversation.
I really appreciate your expertise.
It was my pleasure.
It means the world to us that you're listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
And supporting Mind Mosaic.
Absolutely.
If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe.
Yes.
And, tell a friend.
Spread the word.
Spread the word until next time. Stay curious. Keep learning, and let's keep those minds buzzing.
Love it.